In this video, I visit Brockholes Nature Reserve in Lancashire for the first time and have a close encounter with a very special bird. I'll give you some tips on bird photography and how to photograph on a nature reserve. Wow, this weather is just looking fantastic. Right, let's go look for Kevin. Anybody seen Kevin? Kevin? Now you're probably wondering who on earth is Kevin, and Kevin is actually a kestrel, a male kestrel who's been entertaining visitors here to Brockholes for quite a few years. Now this particular kestrel has become very used to people, which is quite unusual. Some people do actually feed him, and Kevin the kestrel is now a regular here and he's become quite a celebrity. I feel like I like this place already, and I've been here about 20 minutes. The first thing I saw before I even got to the reserve was roe deer. My God, they're so relaxed. They're like really relaxed with the car. It's amazing. And I'm seeing a lot of little birds flying around, just maybe sparrows and blackbirds, and crows and magpies, and quite a few ducks and geese, and even a swan fly over, and that's all in 20 minutes. Oh my God, he's there. I think that's Kevin. Oh my word. Wow, what a start. How amazing is that this kestrel I've heard so much about. I literally pulled up and within 5 minutes it was hovering in the car park, and he just did a flyby, and he's just landed now at the top of quite a tall tree over there, just against like the clouds that are starting to colour up. The kestrel is now on top of one of these signposts. So I'm going to get the camera. The sun is coming up from somewhere over in that direction, and it's not broken the horizon. There's a few trees over there. So at the moment with Kevin, he's just not lit at all because there's no light basically. What I'm trying to do is actually use that cloud behind him. When I was further back just shooting, I was kind of against the sky, and it's just going to be a silhouette. It doesn't look as good. So what I've done, when I've got a bit closer, naturally I've been able to get more of that cloud in the background, so I'm basically shooting the kestrel against that cloud, and that cloud has actually got a little bit of colour to it. My hands are freezing because I didn't have time to put my gloves on because the kestrel was just straight there, so I had to try and get some shots. This is just incredible. I'm stood here talking to the camera right now with this kestrel, I don't know what, 20 feet away, and it's not in the slightest bit bothered. Unbelievable. I'm aware I've got a great big spot on my face. Well, actually it's a bite. It looks like a bite. I don't know where. I just went to bed and woke up and had this thing on me. So this kestrel's now landed on top of another post, but this one is even better because the background is so much better. It's actually in the opposite direction, kind of more towards where the sun is. And the background, I've actually got some background colours behind there, which is absolutely perfect. So it's just a case of getting in the right position. So what I did is try and vary my position a little bit, just to vary how the background looked, vary the colours, and also I came around a little bit to shoot against the darker background, and when I looked it was more like a kind of dappled, so the background is kind of more like dappled trees, which looks quite nice. I've cropped this image heavily to make the most of that amazing eye contact. What a bird. What I'm thinking now is the sun is coming through here, I might be able to get something backlit. Okay, I am almost directly towards the sun. So I've basically got the sun right behind this kestrel now, and what I'm trying to do, I'm just varying my position again slightly. I'm going for a backlit shot, but if I'm too much towards the sun, then it's just too much. But if I kind of come towards the side slightly, I'm getting probably a better backlit effect. And also I'm trying to see if I can get the sun just from below, so it's like just coming through, kind of on his lower body, around his legs. He just literally took off, and he almost flew at my face. I'm not even joking. That was just, it was almost like he took a little detour towards me to check me out, and then he flew across the car park, and he's now landed in a tree. So at the moment he is perched at the top of a tree, so much more natural looking with the sun directly on him, blue sky. So we'll get over there. The fact that you can work with a wild bird like this and a wild bird of prey is just incredible. I'm just adjusting my positions to take different shots. Absolutely amazing, and he's still there. And the beauty is we've got better light, we've got blue sky behind, which is nice and simple. First thing in the morning you're going to have like shade and light depending where the sun is, and that's the case here. You kind of get that mixture. But now where the kestrel is completely bathed in sunlight. There's no real shadows anywhere, and at the moment I'm using just a single focus point. There's a lot of leaves around this kestrel and close to its head, so I'm just using a single focus point, simply focusing on the head and shooting. If you can, I think it's always good to experiment with your angles, particularly when it's really bright sun like it is this morning. I might be shooting from one direction and it's quite side lit, and that can give a lot of contrast. It doesn't always look the best. If you can maneuver yourself around the bottom and try and shoot with the sun more directly behind you, then you're going to get more even light. That's what I did here for better pictures. Right, I feel like I have to move on because I can't just photograph that one kestrel. Actually, I could photograph that one kestrel all day, but it might not make a great video. But just to be so close to that bird was absolutely incredible. To get really close to a wild bird like that is amazing, but when you're close to a wild bird of prey, I just think it's even more amazing. I've finally managed to get out of the car park after about an hour and a half. I haven't even left the car park because of that kestrel. So what we're going to do now is head for the river. I could go that way, it's more towards the motorway. I'd rather get away from the sound, you know, that hum of the motorway. So we're going to head for the river. I don't remember the last time I was out on a day, I think, as beautiful as this, in a place as beautiful and as peaceful as this. So this is the River Ribble. It's just so tranquil today. I can hear the water just sort of lapping, just going around this rock down here. It's just so peaceful. I am loving this autumn colour that's just coming through. Almost everything is still green, but there's just a few patches here and there, just a few colour changes of yellow, orange and red. I didn't really see anything along the river, and now I'm entering a stretch of woodland. I'm close to the trees and instantly I can see more birds. 2 blackbirds just flown across, and you might be able to hear nuthatches in the background. That's the nuthatch. That's a dog. And a song thrush. I get very excited about song thrushes because I don't see them very often. They used to be quite common and now they're not, and they're just beautiful. So any time I get a chance to photograph a song thrush, I really enjoy it. I think it's a good idea to have auto ISO if you're doing a walk like I am at the moment, even if it's bright and sunny like this, where you could set the exposure manually. That's absolutely fine, like if you're shooting this way and the sun's on everything, but you only need something to suddenly go into the shade, or the subject's already in the shade, and it's just going to throw everything off if you're just using manual exposure. So if you use auto ISO, you know, if it's in the sun or if it's in the shade, it should be okay. Robins, lots of birdsong here. This is a lovely patch of woodland just along this woodland path, and I think this is probably where people have photographed the small birds. You know, there's a bit of birdseed or a few peanuts, and there's a lot of like fallen tree trunks and some stumps as well, so that all makes for really good settings for your small bird photography. I can definitely see why this would be a good place for small bird photography, but the problem at the moment is it's just so dark. There's a lot of leaves on the trees, it's just blocking the light, the sun isn't really coming through. So that's the thing with nature reserves. Sometimes in a certain season it might not really work, but if you can try and imagine it in a different season, as I am here, you know, if you're to come here late autumn, winter, even early spring, then all these leaves are going to be gone. And that's the thing, if you find places like that, and particularly if it's the deciduous trees that shed the leaves rather than the coniferous ones, then you're going to get the light come through. I've heard so many birds here just in the short space of time I've been in this patch of woodland. I've heard robin, great tit, I think a chaffinch, blackbird, and I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure I heard a goldcrest. It was really high up. I think it was a goldcrest. Further along the path I came across another little area where some food was being put out, and there was some robins and the nuthatches. There's definitely a lot of nuthatches around here. But the real bonus for me was the voles. I think it's bank voles. Voles and mice do look a little bit different. I'll have to check afterwards. But they were just fantastic. They were just running underneath this tree trunk, and you could see the little holes now and again. And every so often they just come out through these holes, and they'd briefly nip out, grab some food, and then nip back in. It was great fun photographing them. As I mentioned earlier, the light levels are just so low in here, so even with my widest aperture on this lens, I'm still having to push the ISO up to 6400, which is high as I really prefer to go. So I've come over kind of onto the other side of the reserve, and you can really hear the hum of the motorway now. It's probably going to get louder. So this is the first bird hide that I've been to, which is like a metal one with nice, strong, cold metal seats on your butt. I'm pretty much looking right across to the motorway because that's where the noise is coming from. The thing here, I feel like the reeds are just really high. All around this hide, the reeds are quite high, and you can't really get a good view of the water, to be honest. So this is often the case with hides on nature reserves. They're not always the best for photography. Is this something that you've experienced yourself as well on nature reserves? I am thinking about making a video around this topic, so if you've any thoughts on that, please do put them in the comments below. One thing to really bear in mind is how you're going to support the camera if you come to a hide like this on a nature reserve. Now, quite often tripods, you can see mine there in the background, tripods usually aren't ideal. They don't usually fit very well with hides. If you have a look at the window, it might be best to put a beanbag on the window. We could rest the camera on that. That can be a good option. Sometimes what I'll do is actually put my bag on the shelf and I can rest my camera on top of the bag. If that fails, then maybe just simply resting your camera on the shelf is the best way to go. So it comes with a bit of trial and error, but if you visit anywhere regularly, then you'll decide what is the best option. Just a little bit about Brockholes Nature Reserve. It is run by the Lancashire Wildlife Trust. We do have different wildlife trusts throughout the UK that are kind of similar but really separate organisations, and it's very, very close to the M6 motorway, which is incredibly busy. In fact, I think it's the busiest motorway in the country, but it's very, very easy to find. It's really well signposted from the motorway. Really, really big car park. I think £5 for the car park for the day is pretty reasonable, and I'd probably pay £10 just to see Kevin. And it's a bit of an unusual place, I would say. It really feels like a complex more than anything. There's different areas, there's different things going on. There's what's called a floating village, which has got different facilities. It's got meeting rooms, a restaurant and a cafe. It's really quite nice actually, with a boardwalk surrounded by a lake, and there is nature around there. I saw a grey heron quite close to one of the boardwalks, and there's also a play area for children. The paths are really, really good here. The ones that I used were very, very good. It just seems like it's a reserve that's kind of looked after and they put some effort into it. And some of the views as well, even being so close to the motorway, some of the views around the reserve but further out across the river, you can even see some hills in the distance. I really, really enjoyed that today. It felt like I was much further out in the wilds than perhaps I am. So did I get to photograph that celebrity, almost famous bird? Absolutely I did. Amazing experience with that male kestrel. I rarely ever got close to a bird of prey like that, and I really enjoyed my time today here at Brockholes. I think there's such a lovely mixture of habitat, and you know, there's something for everyone here, so I definitely recommend visiting. Now I'm going to put a video up on the screen which is all about photographing on a nature reserve, some useful tips there to help you out. I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching.